Hey, it's Clay. Welcome to another League of Legends video. This time we are doing a why buy on Kassadin the Void Walker, also known as the Terror of Solo Queue and Europe's hope for the LCS. But all jokes aside, Kassadin, he is quite the champ. Has really risen to high prominence and popularity. This actually was a ranked match that I just finished. I actually am not playing Kassadin this game, which is something new. Generally, I have only done games where I have been playing, but I just thought this was a really, really good example of Kassadin gameplay. I was actually jungling, you see me right there, as Jarvan the Fourth, and this was the ranked match I just finished on my way to gold. And anyways, ran into this gentleman in Champ Select, seemed like a fine fellow, and decided to do my Kassadin why buy on this video, because I have played Kassadin. I haven't played him a ton, just because I feel like he is a little bit of an interesting champ, but he has a couple things going for him. First of all, his kit is extremely powerful. He's got a lot of really, really strong things loaded into his kit. He has extremely high mobility. Once he hits level 6, he is arguably the most mobile champion in the game. He's got a silence, he's got a slow, and he's got an auto attack, power up, jacker up type dealio, whatever you want to call it. But he's got a lot of things going on in his kit. Generally considered to be very weak before level 6. But then once he hits level 6, he tends to become an absolute monster. He is probably one of the hardest snowballing champions in the game. He scales extremely strongly into late game, but he is known to get bullied around early on, so you kind of want to just survive, and then when you hit 6, you want to go kill everything. But let's get into his abilities before we talk too much more about his playstyle. His passive, Void Stone, Kassadin takes 15% reduced magic damage and converts damage taken into bonus attack speed. So it's kind of a two-part thing. He has a percentage damage reduction on all magic damage, and then he also gains attack speed the weaker he is. So I would say the attack speeds part is a little bit wasted. You generally don't really want to be like on super low health, auto-attacking a ton. But the 15% reduced magic damage is really nice, and combined with his silence, it makes him a very, very powerful anti-mage. It's kind of one of the classifications that Kassadin usually receives, is he's picked as somebody who can really shut down a mage. And right there, I don't actually know what happened or why my knockup didn't go, but it did not, and so this Arya is going to go live another day. That was kind of weird. But anyways, his passive makes him very, very strong against AP mages. So if you're going up against an AP caster that's relying on their spells, Kassadin is a fantastically strong choice. He can really shut those types of champions down. And this is part of the reason why. I would say it definitely synergizes well with his kit, but it's not the best passive in the game. But it definitely helps you kind of stay alive early on, and then if you are up against a lot of casters later in the game, this will also help as well. So that is his passive Void Stone. Next up will be his Q, Null Sphere. It's a point-and-click nuke. Basically, it will damage them, and it will also silence them. And the damage and the silence scales up with rank quite nicely. It also has a 0.7 AP ratio. This is his bread and butter skill. It's that little round projectile that he fires out. You probably want to level this first, max it first, and it's your primary initiating of your combo. You just want to launch out your Q, and it will silence them, which is really nice because then there's nothing you can do when you're silenced. You can't flash, you can't blink, you can't cast spells, and it makes it very strong. It's a relatively low-ranged spell, so you do have to kind of get up close, which is also the nature of his kit. He's definitely more of an assassin-style champ, so you do need to get up and close and personal in order to maximize this, but it's just a very strong bread and butter skill. And again, it's got great base damage up to 280 at max rank, which is quite high. It's got a 0.7 AP ratio, which is also fairly high, and it also has a silence from 1 to 2.6 seconds at max rank. 2.6 seconds of silence on a high priority target in a teamfight is GG right there. So very, very powerful. Indeed. So next up would be his W, Netherblade. He has a passive active component. Passively, every auto attack will regenerate mana. And if he's auto attacking a champion, that will be tripled. This is very nice. Kassadin is extremely mana hungry. But if you auto attack, auto attacking creeps, you can really help sustain your mana because Kassadin is one of the most mana-intensive and hungry champions in the game. So if you can kind of get that mana up and going, this is one of the things that can really, really help out with that. And then when you activate it for 5 seconds, he gains bonus attack damage. Bonus magic damage on hit that does have an AP scaling ratio, and this is really nice. It does a couple of things for you. Early on, this is really, really nice to last hit. Like I said, Kassadin struggles in early laning, and therefore, if you can get this Nether Blade early on in the first couple of levels, a lot of times people will try to shove you under tower, which is a relatively ineffective tactic just because of your Nether Blade. You can last hit under tower very, very easily, especially those caster minions. Those tend to be the problematic ones. If you get one tower shot and then you activate your Nether Blade, you can usually finish those puppies off. So you can see this Kassadin is doing a great job of roaming around the map, getting some nice. There's his Q and his E to pick up that kill. But the Nether Blade is really nice. It actually the flat damage is relatively low on the active, 30 up to 90, which isn't too much. But the 0.3 AP ratio is really, really nice. As you build a lot of AP, you're going to be really strong. If you do decide to go for something like a Lichbane, your auto attacks with the Nether Blade have like a 1.05 AP ratio or something. I mean, it's just crazy strong. Crazy strong. But anyways, Nether Blade is very nice. It's really nice because especially if you aren't quite able to one-shot somebody with your spells, getting those empowered auto attacks off is really, really handy. So very synergizes nicely with his kit. Next up would be his E, Force Pulse. Basically, it is a coned AoE damaging ability. It's very short range at 400, but it will damage them and it will slow enemies all in that cone. This is his AoE primarily ability, and the slow is also very, very nice. One unique thing about this, it has a 6-second cooldown, but it also requires charges. I believe it is 6 charges, and so this requires that either yourself or an ally or an opponent cast 6 spells within his radius, and then the cooldown will be available. So it does take 6 seconds of cooldown, but then it also requires 6 spell casts. So in lane, this can actually be a little bit tricky because it's kind of a unique mechanic. Because you need those spells cast near you, and if it's just you against an opponent and you're both just kind of auto-attacking last-hitting creeps, there you can see it, use it right there at the very end when he goes, rah, and he kind of splashes that ocean-looking thing out in front of him. That's the Force Pulse. But once you get more into team fights, it's not a problem. You're going to have so many other champions around you that are going to be casting spells as well, so it's not really a big deal. But as you can see right here, it says after 6 spells, there's 2 spells that have been cast. There's 4 or 5, and I think those were coming from me. It looks like it has a very wide radius. I'm not actually sure exactly what it means when it says near to him. But so one thing that I do to charge this up is I'll just use my W to last hit because it has a low mana cost of 25 and it returns mana, so you're not really giving up much in terms of mana. But you are charging up your E. So pretty much every time my W is on cooldown, I'll just hit it and use that to charge up my E as best as I can. But it is something to keep in mind. There are hard times when it can be a little bit unreliable, and it's just kind of a wonky cooldown concept that takes a little getting used to. But there you can see jumping on with the ultimate, hitting a quick QE combo for a nice bit of damage onto this Ahri. But last up would be his ultimate, Rift Walk. This is really what makes Kassadin Kassadin. This is the core feature of his kit that really makes him go around. Basically, it is a free flash on like a 7, 6, or 5 second cooldown. You can see right there when he blinks forward, people refer to it as his blink, but it is his Rift Walk. He will blink to a target location. It will do AoE damage. And it has a very interesting mechanic. It actually has very, very low base damage, 60, 70, and 80. So at max rank, at 16, it's only doing 80 base damage, but it does have a 0.8 AP ratio, which is very, very high. And then it also has this stacking mechanic, which is similar to like Vladimir's E, is probably the best way to describe it, but it's infinitely stacking. And it will stack in mana and also damage. So the mana cost will be increased as well as... I'm sorry, it stacks only 10 times, not infinitely. So the second time you cast it, it will cost 200 mana, 100 plus 100. But then it will do your flat 60 plus 60 damage. So the mana cost increases, but the damage also increases. So this is a really, really nice ability. Just basically having this free flash enables Kassadin to be extremely mobile. And if you've watched this game, you've noticed that this Kassadin spends generally a small amount of time in lane. He actually spends a lot of time roaming, which is what he exactly did here. Picked up a nice double kill in the bot lane. That's exactly what you want to be doing as Kassadin. You need to abuse your ultimate as much as you can to be around the map as much as you can. You want to be ganking other lanes constantly. Once you hit level 6, you probably are going to want to communicate with your jungler to say, hey, cover my lane so my tower doesn't go down, but I'm going to be roaming. And you just try to just roam all over the map. Wherever you see people overextended, that last time the enemies had pushed up the bottom lane to our side of the river, so that's a perfect time for Kassadin. There was the use of the Rift Walk right there. That's a perfect time for Kassadin to start blinking his way down there and picking up kills. There's a very effective wave clear combo with his E. So those are Kassadin's abilities. His kit really revolves around his ultimate. You really need to make sure you have the mana cost to support your ultimate. So he's very blue buff dependent. He's also very mana dependent. So you're going to want to build a couple of mana items early on. And then once you hit level, you just kind of try to survive until you hit level 6, and then from then you're just going to want to blink around the map, get as many kills as you can, start snowballing the game totally out of control, and just pick up the victory that way. That's really Kassadin's recipe for success. And so let's talk a little bit about his itemization, as I already mentioned that. Kassadin is, you can see he's blinking up top. Kassadin is one of the most mana-intensive champions in the game. He has very, very high mana costs. His Q is 110. His E is 80, and his ultimate is 100, plus 100 per stack. So right now he's sitting on like 2 or 3 stacks. So his next Rift Walk is going to cost like 200 or 300 mana. So especially if you want to make use of your blink to get to targets, to get to the place you want to get to very quickly, you're going to need to itemize for mana. Now there's a couple of different schools of thought here. If you're having a very difficult lane, you're probably going to want to go for a Catalyst, because the Catalyst will do a couple things. It gives you health, and health is very, very nice for surviving a difficult lane. And then it also gives you that mana and just that kind of those free recharge potions every time you level up. But if you're having a relatively good time in lane, you can go for Tear and then go for your Catalyst. And then finish, obviously your Catalyst will go into Rod of Ages. But that Tear plus Rod of Ages is really like the gigantic mana. You know, any of the champions that really rely on mana, like Ryze or Karthus, Kassadin, they all really want to try to pick up that. You can see he's roaming again. They really want to try to pick up that Tear plus Rod of Ages combination, give you the absolutely maximum amount of mana. I actually think he thought he had picked up that kill, but he does get CC locked. There's so much crowd control, and Israel unfortunately is going to get away. There's a really nice combo to blow up that Leona. But he does end up going... Oh, he maybe is going to get away. Nice shield by Janna. Can he continue to blink? One more blink. Oh, there he ends up going down. I wonder if his blink was maybe on cooldown, or maybe he didn't have the mana for it. But anyways, Kassadin greatly desires mana. He is extremely mana hungry. And like I said, if you are having a fairly good time in lane, you want to go in Tear first, into Catalyst, into Rod of Ages. That's a really strong build to itemize mana. But if you're having a little bit of a tough time, I would say skip the Tear, go for the Catalyst, because it's going to allow you to survive a little bit better in lane. You'll still get the mana you want, you just can't be quite as crazy with your ultimate spamming. But once Kassadin itemizes for mana, then he pretty much goes straight damage. Kassadin is a very, very strong assassin. If you get really, really fed and far ahead, you can almost one-shot someone with an R, Q, E, W auto-attack combo. Maybe throwing an Ignite in there, and you can kill somebody in like 2 seconds flat. Use your ultimate to jump on them, use your Q, E to silence them and slow them, and then auto-attack them with your empowered W. And that'll be a really easy way to pick up a kill on a squishy. But he's pretty much like any AP caster. Once you kind of get that Rod of Ages Tear combo going, you know, Archangels is good, Deathcap is good, Zhonya's is good, Void Staff is good. All your basic, straightforward, typical AP caster items, Kassadin really fits with those very nicely. Good job picking up those kills right there, and we've really started to snowball this game out of control. He's up to 6-1-3, just spent the entire game roaming and ganking. That's really what Kassadin does. But in terms of itemization, that's pretty much it. I would say the optimal ideal build is if you're going up against like another melee champion, especially AP mids who are melee like a Gragas or Diana that really can't pressure you or poke you, then you want to get Tear into Catalyst, finish your Rod of Ages, then maybe go Zonia's or Deathcap, depending on if you need to stay alive or if you want to just do more damage. Void Staff is a really, really strong third completed item. And then from there, you just want to start killing everything you can. Sork Shoes are very, very standard. Not really any other choice. There's a Q, E, W, auto. Finish off that kill with another R. Oh, actually, I got it. But that's Kassadin. He's very straightforward in terms of his gameplay. You really want to make sure you're ganking and you're pushing those other lanes, trying to get kills as much as possible, being around the map as much as possible. Now, what's some of his limitations? Kassadin does have his limitations. He is extremely mana intensive, and which means it's going to delay your damage. Anytime you're putting money into mana, you're not putting money into damage. So his early and mid game is comparatively weak. Compared to other mages who can just go straight for damage. Kassadin can't really do that. He has to go for some mana early on. And like I said, anytime you're itemizing for mana, you're not itemizing for damage. So take that into account. There's a nice blink QE to finish off that kill onto Nautilus. He also has he struggles before 6. His kit really is incomplete before he hits level 6. It's very, very difficult for him to apply very much pressure, just because his kit is very weak. His spells are all very, very short-ranged. His Q is his longest range spell at 650, which is like pretty much auto-attack range. I know auto-attacks are generally 550, but with spells, there's kind of some of that range gets consumed a little bit. I don't really know why or how, but that's just kind of the way that it works. But he's very short range, and so he's going to have a hard time. He really tends to get bullied for the first little while, and people know how hard he scales, and so they will be very intentional about trying to shut him down early on. So you need to be mindful of that people are going to try to be aggressive on you, and they're going to try to really do a lot of work. That Nautilus, I don't know what he was thinking. They're going to try to really shut you down before you get level 6. So you really just want to survive, kind of similar to a Kali in that fashion, I would say. Ooh, near miss there from Darius. But once you hit level 6 and get those first couple of mana items, you can really start to play aggressively. And he really has, his dynamic really changes at that point, because he can be all around the map. He can be playing very aggressively, very, very roam-heavy mid laner, and just cause a lot of chaos. I would say as Kassadin, if you're not ganking and picking up a lot of kills, you're doing it wrong. And that's why you can see this game he went for a Magi's. Magi's is not a bad option on Kassadin, just because you really are dependent on picking up a lot of kills. You really want to snowball the game ahead through kills. But yeah, if you can just survive those early levels, get your couple of mana items, get to hit level 6, and once you can get going from there, you can really become extremely powerful. And, Kassadin really typifies this roaming mid lane style that has become very popular in solo queue. And I would say the main reason why it's popular is that with some champions, think about like a Karthus or an Orianna. They're very, if they scale hard, they're very strong champions. But if you're doing really, really well on Karthus, maybe Karthus isn't such a good example because of his ultimate, but Orianna, if you're doing really, really well on a champion like Orianna, or maybe a Zyra mid, it's hard to really translate that success into your other lanes. So if your top lane is behind, if your bot lane is behind, there's just not a ton that you can do to really impact those lanes. But Kassadin, his kit is just designed to gank. And so if you get ahead, you can snowball other lanes ahead as well. Because if you're ganking the other lane, they're probably not killing your lane. You can see I'm going in here for this super big engage. Kassadin did pick up one kill right there. This was actually a 4v5. I didn't even know, but we picked up a couple of really nice kills. There's the triple kill right there from Kassadin. So he throws out that Null Sphere onto Ari to pick up that kill. Up to 11-1 and 4. Very nicely played so far. But yeah, you really want to make sure you're snowballing the game ahead as Kassadin. So, yeah, there's a nice... Is he going to get the quad, or is it too delayed? Nope, not quite. So anyways, that's Kassadin. This was a very good example of Kassadin's gameplay. You want to really be roaming. You can see by the end of the game he's got 20 stacks on his Magi's. He's just super fed out of his mind, and it's only going to get worse. But you really want to do that. You want to be mobile. You want to be ganking. You want to be just covering the map with using your blink for the high mobility. You want to itemize mana so that you can be mobile. And then you just want to be everywhere. You want to be ganking machine. just taking advantage of the kit that you have. And you scale really hard in the late game. He's got fantastic AP ratios, 0.7 on his Q, 0.3 on his W, which is on auto attacks, 0.7 on his E, and 0.8 on his ultimate. So, once you get a lot of AP, and plus your mana, you are ridiculously strong. But anyways, that's Kassadin. He is a very strong champion. If you're really thinking, hey, I need to carry myself single-handedly out of bronze, Kassadin is a champion you want to look at because he is somebody who is designed to snowball games. He doesn't just win your lane. Once you hit level 6, get a mana item or two and maybe a little bit of AP, you want to be all over the map, just getting as much kills as you can, creating chaos, and snowballing the game for your team. So that's Kassadin, the Voidwalker. I hope you guys enjoyed this and take him out into solo queue because he is pretty terrifying if he gets going. But that's all I got to say. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you soon. Bye.